What is a floodplain and how is it determined? What is a floodplain? An area that experiences periodic flooding from nearby water. Periodic. Periodic refers to how likely it is to happen in any given year. Likely. Floods have a likelihood of happening each year. For example, 1 in 200 or 1 in 500. Over a person's lifetime, there are many years when a flood may occur. Over 25 years, the likelihood of a 1 in 200 year flood occurring is 12%. Over 75 years, it's 31%. This is because over a longer period, there is a higher likelihood of a flood occurring. In the Okanagan, flooding is related to weather conditions such as winter snowfall, spring temperatures, rate of snowmelt, timing and intensity of rainfall. Changes in weather patterns related to climate change are expected to increase the likelihood of high water levels and will cause spring flooding to occur earlier in the season. The floodplain mapping incorporates the expected impacts of climate change. Nearby water. Water flows downhill, so the type of areas which usually flood are low-lying, near water bodies. We have put in place measures to reduce flooding such as dams and dikes, but there's still a risk of flooding despite these structures. Rapid increases in lake levels can hamper the ability to control dam outflow. Dikes and other barriers to water flow, like roads and railway beds, can fail when water flows over their surface, erodes these structures, or when water seeps through their apparent barriers. Understanding flood risk helps us stay safe. To understand possible floods, we make floodplain maps to show areas which may flood in a given event. It lets us plan our communities and our infrastructure and make decisions to keep ourselves dry. How is it determined? We use science and engineering to create computer models. Steps. 1. Create a model of the land surface, riverbeds, and lake shorelines. 2. Analyze long-term weather patterns, climate, including historical and future expectations. Use this to model the water cycle or hydrology of the Okanagan Valley, including changes in dam operations to manage higher future flows. 3. Model the flows in the rivers and lakes and how these may spill over into the floodplain. 4. Test the model to see if it matches past flood events. 5. Look at how big the waves will be and how far they will reach. 6. Use all of this information to create maps to show where the water may flow on the land and how high it might get. Let's take a closer look at the maps. On the maps, there are river and lake model boundary, inundation extents, and flood depths, which are areas that might flood in 1 in 20 year, 1 in 100 year, 1 in 200 year, and 1 in 500 year events. More information about a recommended design flood. Recommended design flood? Used for planning, construction, and development in the floodplain. This event has a likelihood that matches society's tolerance for risk. In BC, design floods are generally adopted from the higher of the recorded flood. In this project, used for Okanagan and Kalamalka lakes based on the 2017 flood, or the 1 in 200 year flood. In this project, used for other water bodies. More information about a recommended design flood includes flood extents with and without freeboard. Freeboard. A 0.6 meter vertical distance added to represent local variations in water level and uncertainty in estimates of the flood from science and engineering models. Hazard maps showing flood depth and velocity along the river. Used in emergencies to identify areas with deep or high velocity water. Recommended flood construction levels, FCL. Flood construction level, elevation that structures are recommended to be built at to reduce flood risk. Parts of a flood construction level. Modeled design flood elevation, including climate change. Wind setup, on lakes only. Wave effects. Freeboard. Flood construction level with wave effects. Wave effect flood construction zone. Freeboard. Flood construction level without wave effects. Used by local governments to plan communities and increase flood resilience. Now what? Take a look through the Flood Mapping website tabs to see the new floodplain mapping. Click through the website tabs to learn more about climate change, responsibility, and risk reduction.